31.
Okay.
Where it's moving back.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Chad,
It's here.
someplace.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Faribault School Board on May 22nd, 2017 to order. We'll begin with the pledge of, determine a quorum, sir.
Everybody's here, we do have a quorum.
All right, we'll begin with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here this evening. We need to approve the agenda. Now, okay, I'm going to have a consent agenda request, but that's done later, correct?
Yeah, that's
All right,
correct.
thank you. So we need to approve the agenda as presented here.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved. We now have our area of recognitions and awards. First will be the Bench Buddy through the Rotary Club.
Do you want to do this presentation first, Jake? And they can get a summary of what this is all about. I'm going to introduce you first. This is Jake Cook and Kelly Viewlander, and they are here representing the Buddy Bench or Bench Buddy. We've gone both ways with that term. And what Rotary like to do for all the elementary schools in our district. So,
You want us up here at the mic?
yeah, if you don't mind.
Thank you. As Todd had said, my name is Jake Cook, and I am this year's Rotary President. My presidential year ends here at the end of June. And each year we have the opportunity as presidents to decide where we would like to elect funds to go. And ironically, the last couple months, Kelly had came to me and asked if we would be interested as a Rotary Club to donate towards a project for buddy benches, and I'll go into a little bit more on what buddy benches are. And I said, you know what, that'd be a great project for my presidential dollars to go towards. So here we are today, sitting, looking to raise funds to put a buddy bench at every elementary school. Buddy benches, Kelly, did you want to go over what buddy benches are a little bit?
Buddy benches are used all around the United States, actually the world, at school districts. We are hoping to adapt it so that it's at all the locations in Faribault. Some schools do it individually, but they are designed to be incorporated alongside the anti-bullying program with the school districts. So to educate the staff and the students that if there's a child that's having a rough day out on the playground and sitting on the bench, that a student is to go over to them and ask them to play. With the incentive that they should never have to sit back on that bench again. They now have a friend. Makes life a lot easier to be accepted on the playground, incorporated throughout the school day that way. So
Our hope is to put a bench at every elementary school, as I'd stated, in the Faribault community. So the three public schools, Divine Mercy, Faribault Lutheran School, the STEM School, and Near Strand Elementary. Our goal is to raise $10,000 to do so. We have already started our campaign. We have gotten approval from all the schools that they all would like one on their premise. At Jefferson, there is 2 playgrounds, so our goal is to raise enough to put one at each. And the way that we plan to raise funds is we have an event coming up. Is kind of our kickoff. We've already got some funding from some corporate sponsors. Allina Health was a big contributor in starting our fund drive. So we got approval for a donation from Allina Health towards the project. We're going to be doing an event on June 8th here in town at F-Town, where we will be having all the schools are putting together auction items that we will be doing a silent auction and having a food truck and that there. So it's $20 per ticket for the event, and we're hoping to raise some funds towards these benches through that. And then also, following that, if we are short of our goal, at that point, we plan to reach out to community businesses or just community individuals, as well as the Rotary members, to try and raise funds to finish off our goal. Each bench is about $1,000.
Really nice.
They're gold benches, they're gold-plated benches. No, each bench is about $1,000. They're 6 foot long. We're gonna have a neutral color at each location, so it's gonna be rotary blue at every location. And with the extra roughly $2,000 that we raise, will go towards materials to get it in the ground and to make sure that they're secured properly at each location. The hope is to, and the one thing that we asked from each school was not for any funds towards it, but we asked that they would be committed to educating staff and the students each and every year on how the buddy benches should be utilized, so they don't just sit there as a bench. We want them to be utilized as a true buddy bench, and the students know how to use that, and the staff know how to educate. So we had gotten agreements from all of the schools that they would do that. And then we would also maintain and make sure that they are taken care of if there's anything that needs to be done. If there's any vandalism or anything that happens, then the hope is the community would come together and the Rotarians would help take care of those. So that's what the buddy benches are, and that's what our goal is. So we're here just to let you know what's going on out in the community and what we're hoping to accomplish. You can Google buddy benches and you'll find out many schools that have put them in. You'll find out how there's basically a page that is an outline on how to educate the students and staff on how to use them. So we've got the resources, and Todd's got a video up right now that we can take a look at about one of the school districts that had some success with the buddy benches.
Yeah, and I can't take it, actually Kelly sent it to me, I'm just putting it up here on the board, so. All right.
And if you go to YouTube, you'll find a lot of success stories, very similar to the one we're going to watch now.
Well, local elementary students have a new tool to make friends and feel connected on the playground this fall. A buddy bench has been installed at all 24 elementary schools in District 11, and this week, CTN's Bao Vang stopped by Eisenhower Elementary to see how some children were taking advantage of it.
Kids, it would be more successful with the younger kids.
When Sarah Evans' children came home from the first day of school on Tuesday, her first grader had this to report.
And at recess, she didn't have anybody play with her. She didn't play with anybody.
Her third grader quickly offered a solution.
Well, you have to go to the buddy bench and wait for a buddy to sit down with you.
The Buddy Bench, the district's newest communication tool.
Not every child feels comfortable saying, I need a friend today. But when a child sits on the buddy bench, it sends an instant message to their classmates.
It's saying, I'm not connected. I want to be connected.
During third grade recess at Eisenhower Elementary School on Thursday, we witnessed many students who used the Buddy Bench to connect. Keep your eye on the young boy in the gray who is sitting down on the Buddy Bench. Soon, a young girl notices and comes over to strike up a conversation and asks them to play. Within moments, they're off together. The school social worker says feeling connected, especially for children this early on in the school year and in life, will have lasting effects.
Students are feeling isolated and alienated. Their chance of success is reduced.
Something mom Sarah Evans says she is glad her children's school district is not willing to accept. Bao Vang, CTN News.
The Hanokan Educational Foundation provided a $13,000 grant to pay for the buddy benches. Well,
There we go.
So there's a school district where you can obviously see it's been successful, and that's the hope within the Faribault community as well, as we have success stories very similar to one that you saw with the little boy that sat there. So we're committed to the program, and we're here basically just to educate you on what we're doing out in the community, ask you to come help support us on June 8th if you're able to, and if not, we do have a PayPal link set up where you can donate to the project, and educate the community on what we're doing. The more donations we can get, the quicker we can get those on the ground. Our goal is to raise the funds and have those put in the ground this summer during the off season, so that when they come back for next school year, each school will have a bench. Any questions, Ross?
Thank you, great idea.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I just want to thank Kelly. I mean, really, she saw it on, I don't know if it was YouTube or.
It was actually on Carol 11 News that we're the first school in the southern part of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Lake Minnetonka, I think White Bear Lake have implemented it, but we're the first down here.
Yeah, so I just want to give a big thanks. Yeah, Kelly reached out to just ask, well, how can we make this happen? But honestly, she ran with it. I mean, I didn't give her very much information at all. So as just a member of the community, thank you so much for taking the lead on this and doing it. I know that Jefferson talked about doing them 4 or 5 years ago, and it just wasn't possible for the PTO to fund something like that. So I, for one, am so super excited to see this happening. So thank you to both of you for doing this, and just let us know what we can do to support and help it.
Of course. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your work and all that the Rotary does in this community. And item B, the Roosevelt Elementary staff has a presentation regarding habits of discussion.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Leanne Lechtenberg, and I'm a teacher on special assignment at Roosevelt.
I'm Barbara, third grade teacher at Roosevelt.
And I might just have you, before you go further, just to speak in the mic a little bit closer. So,
Okay.
thanks.
So we have a video that might still be up. Oh, are you, all right.
He's good.
Great things are happening at Roosevelt Elementary School. Teachers have been using the habits of discussion and supporting each other by participating in peer-to-peer observations.
So Danny, you use habits of discussion throughout your school day.
Thank you.
What benefits have you found from it?
I have found a lot of benefits using habits throughout the day. We have started with the basics of habits such as turn and talk and stretch it out. And then the last couple of months we've really emphasized the I agree, I disagree, and add on. And the communication between kids has grown tremendously. I agree, disagree, the conversational piece, it's really increased student learning and engagement.
Teachers use this feedback form as they observe their peers using the habits of discussion.
This year we started doing peer-to-peer observations with our coworkers, and it's been a nice opportunity for us to go into other people's classrooms and validate that we are doing what they are doing, so we're all doing the same kinds of things in our own classroom. And it's been fun to see the common language between different classes, the expectation of tracking, which is a basic skill for some people, but for little children learning in school, it's not a basic skill at all. We have to teach them how to look at the speaker and to listen. So that's been really great to see that cohesiveness in our school.
And you've had teachers come into your classroom to observe you. How have you found that experience?
I think it's a great thing. So it helps me be more prepared in what I'm doing. And it also is great to see the reflections on the sheet that they give me back. So then it helps me look at what I'm doing, and if I'm doing something that they enjoy, I can explain how I'm doing it in my classroom, and then it also helps me know that the people in our school are on the same page as I am.
And how do you think this will benefit Roosevelt in the future?
I think the common expectations from all the classrooms, that we're all using the same language, we're all expecting our students to stretch themselves with their academic vocabulary, using the sentence frames for them to speak in complete sentences will help children as they get older, so that we have more academic vocabulary being used in our school.
That is where I've learned the most, is learning through what other colleagues are doing, especially because in my classroom you get to a point where you know you need to mix it up a little bit, and just seeing the different approaches that they've taken and being able to observe my peers has really helped me bring that into my own classroom.
I have learned as a teacher because I'm able to go into different classrooms and see how
so starting the fall, people were already on board, already ready for it, they already had a level of understanding of what was expected, and then they were able to more successfully roll it out over time. And so with that being said, we've kind of stayed the course and not added a lot of extra new stuff. We've been able to stay very focused, and we've seen that it's been implemented at close to 100% implementation throughout the district. All professional staff are using it. So when I go to Phi-Ed or music or art or the media center, I see that staff using the habits of discussion with their students as well. So it gives a consistency for our students. They know what to expect, and it has helped the implementation within the classroom because the kids also know that it's going to be used outside of the classroom as well. So it's a really exciting process, and I think it's really benefiting our students and our staff.
So what we're most excited about at Roosevelt is not just the implementation of this practice profile, but also this whole school year we've been practicing peer-to-peer observations. And that's what we wanted to share with you is how impactful that has been on the teachers that are participating and how much they learn from one another. So we have just shared with you some of the pieces of information that we use with our staff.
So is the plan to continue just going forward with the program
Yes.
every year?
Next year, we're hoping to have peer-to-peer observations, if not monthly, weekly.
And Leanne, maybe you should clarify your position just so the board knows what your position is now.
Sure, so I am a teacher on special assignment, and 50% of my position is working as a coach at Roosevelt, so I work with teachers and implementing some of the practices that we're talking about, the habits of discussion. And the other 50% of my job is mentoring and working with student teachers from Mankato and placing them in the classroom, observing and evaluating them.
And that collaboration is as a result of the PDS relationship we have with Minnesota Mankato.
Todd, is this the only elementary school that we have this in?
I think so. You guys are doing it here at Roosevelt, right?
Yes.
And I don't think
yeah.
Jefferson
Right.
is doing it. The only other school that was able to get the combination of the TOSA and the fellowship was Jefferson. And we're hoping we get one at Roosevelt now this year too, so Leanne can continue some of the fine work that she's been doing. But it's a supply and demand too for that
Yeah.
piece, but she's doing a great job.
So are there any questions on the habits of discussion, or we were just asked to give you a quick view of what we've been doing.
Well, this isn't really a question, it's more of a comment. I guess this looks fantastic, and as I was reading it, I was struck as to the similarity. At St. Olaf, we have an oral communication credit that students have to take before they graduate. And when people think oral communication, they think that that's standing in front of a room full of people and talking and giving a speech of some type, and that is certainly part of it. But the other part of it that really focuses on is the ability to sit in a smaller group of people and communicate effectively. And so we have a whole list of items that we are looking for our students, our college students, to be able to practice in order to do that, to be able to sit in a group of people and communicate effectively with a small group. And while this is not precisely that, I'm amazed at how many things in here are very much like what our college students are doing. And I think it's great to be starting that earlier and thinking about how do you promote a useful communication with your peer sitting at a table. So it's fantastic. I really appreciate this work.
These are based off the Speaking Common Core standards, and what we've really found within the classroom is it really helps those students that get a pass because they're shy or their voice is quiet, and it empowers them to speak in a voice where their classmates can hear, and to let them know that their voices are important. And as we know, those that do the talking do the learning. So. Any other comments? Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to item 4 on our agenda, the community comment. A 3-minute limit per speaker and 15 minutes per topic. Is there anyone who would like to address the board this evening? All right, everybody look at one another. Let them know it'll be okay if they want to come up. Well, I'll take that as a negative, so we will move on. Brings us to item 5, the consent agenda, approving minutes, employment, additional assignments, and authorization of payments, transfers, and investment activity. These items can be approved by one motion unless a board member requests a separate action. And I would like to request a separate action to recognize some of the retirees that are listed in our board packet this evening. So with that adjustment, is there any other requests from board members regarding the consent agenda? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the notation that we will recognize some the retirees that are listed.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. I'm sorry. Oh, this is a resolution? Yes. I'm sorry, we need a roll call. Thank you.
Okay. Tom,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Yvette,
Aye.
myself, aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Chad. Aye.
Mr. Chair, it passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. All right, then since I requested it, I would like to take a few moments to recognize the staff members who are listed requesting approval of their retirements. First one listed is Mary Brown, who is a special education paraprofessional at Lincoln Elementary, who's been with the Faribault Public Schools for 20 years. Second is Diane Idis, a special education teacher at Roosevelt Elementary, who has been employed by the Faribault Public Schools for a total of 35 years. Third, Mr. Dale Robley, a driver's education instructor. Dale has been employed with the public schools for a total of 19 years. Next is Suzanne Schreck, a special education autism paraprofessional. Suzanne has been employed with the Faribault Public Schools for a total of 26 years. Next is Stephen Ulrich. Mr. Ulrich is a gateway teacher at the middle school and has been with the Faribault Public Schools for a total of 4 years.
Tom, would you mind if I just say something quick
Not
about
at
Mr.
all.
Ulrich? So I just want to highlight Mr. Ulrich. He's only been with our district for a few years. He came to us late in his career. But what I want to highlight him for, me personally, is that, as you know, I run the robotics team at the high school. I was not, however, the instigator of getting the program going, although I started coaching it once it started. That really falls to Steve Ulrich, who had experience working with robotics teams in other districts, came to our district and saw that we didn't have it, and started having conversations with leadership in the district, including Todd and others, and getting some support for it. So the program was already in place and up and running before I jumped on to start leading it through its first year. So I personally owe him a debt of gratitude for bringing that program to our district, and thought I'd mention that as we go through this.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank all those staff that I've mentioned and others that may come in yet. I did a rough addition, remembering I'm an English major, and I think we are losing somewhere close to 100 years of experience with the retirement of these people who have, some of them served long periods of time, and regardless of how long they served, all have made valuable contributions to the students and the programs here in Faribault Public Schools. So our thanks to those individuals, and I guess we need a motion to approve their retirements.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. You are free, people. Effective June 5th or thereabouts. All right, that would bring us to item 6, the Curriculum Committee. Ms. Cardenuto has a report for us this evening.
All right, good evening. Our Curriculum Advisory Committee met on Monday, May 15th. We started our meeting with Kelly McDermott talking about the upcoming schedule changes for the middle school, the additional options for the exploratory classes, and they have things like guitar and songwriting, music technology, arts and visual storytelling, gateway to technology, the amazing art race. The list goes on and on. It is a list of great options for our students to choose from. Students can choose, throughout the school year, they have up to, I think, 4 to 8 times in which they can choose their different classes. And this is a list that they've been working on, trying to make some really quality options for our kids and some real positive experiences. And so she talked about all the possible changes and then the possible needs that go with that. Things like if we add robotics, we're going to need Mindstorm Legos. If we add the guitar piece, we're going to need guitars. And so we brought that discussion to the curriculum committee as our kids are starting to schedule into these new classes. And so the next thing we talked about was the language arts honors change. We have a change in honors being done at our high school for 9th and 10th grade. In the past, we had a separate honors class. They helped create a letter to explain to parents how this honors is now going to be offered to all 9th and 10th grade, in all 9th and 10th grade classes. What will happen is we will start the school year. They will talk about the additional rigor, not necessarily additional work, but additional rigor that will be added if you would like to take the honors route, giving everybody the option to take the honors route if they would like to work at that level. So that is a letter that is coming out for parents, but we do need to make some changes after bringing it to the curriculum committee. The next thing is we just talked about the school board goals and the possible next step. We obviously have already surveyed all of our parents at our parent-teacher conferences. The next step would be to survey all of our staff just to get their input and to move forward with a task force. And we're just starting to have discussions as to what that looks like and when the best time for that would be. And then the next item up that we talked about was the MC Assessment Advisory Council. Coming down from MDE is the idea that we can have an assessment advisory council at our school district, in which we talk to our staff, or we form a committee that takes a look at the assessments that we are given. We can take a look at different assessments and determine if we are using the best assessments for our kids. Notice that we do have to do standard-based assessments. There is limitations on some of our choices, but at least we can have conversations about whether we use things like the DIBEL versus the DRA. And so that committee needs to be formed here. And we would like to at least do one meeting this summer, if not 2. And then we talked about what's our upcoming event with our collaborative inquiry training. We're taking a look at how we can do a process of looking at student work and student achievement overall within our classrooms, not necessarily MCAs and NWAs, but the possibility of projects within the classroom in addition to those, in addition to things in attendance and participation and et cetera. Our training, it looks like after talking to the trainer, the possibility or the probability is that we'll be training July 20th and 21st. That will be our administrators along with probably 2 staff members from each building. We have a max of up to 40 to be able to train. So that will move that forward, and we just discussed the process with the curriculum committee. And then, of course, our next meeting is on June 19th from 3:30 to 4:30. And so that was what our curriculum advisory covered. So kind of a lengthy meeting, but a good one. Anybody want to add anything to?
I had asked at the meeting, and at that point Kelly hadn't looked at it. With all the new electives at the middle school, and students had just put in the registrations, how sort of spread out or what the response was to each of those electives. Has you had a chance to look at that yet? Do you have any sense of the
My understanding is they were still scheduling, and so I haven't not had the chance to talk to Kelly. I know she was looking for me today, but we were doing some other things, so I'll try to connect with her tomorrow.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Colleen, I have to tell you, I have a 8th grade daughter and 7th grade daughter. And so my 7th grade daughter brings home the sheet of prospective interest classes, right? Just like you read. And my 8th grade daughter says, "What? You get to take all these? Where's this come from?" So she was pretty bummed that she's going now from 8th grade to 9th grade, and all these courses, or potential courses, are being available. So anyway,
It is exciting. They have a lot of great opportunities. I looked at these classes, some of them look just amazing. So.
Well, it's been my privilege over the last number of months to meet with middle school staff and be involved on this project, and to see this kind of result is very gratifying, and my thanks to you and to the middle school staff, Mr. Mihak, and all those that have participated. I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to our middle school program.
I agree with you. Very exciting times. And then I'm next for technology. Is there any other curriculum advisory or curriculum questions?
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna head into technology. Take my glasses here. So Bree just wanted to give a quick update, but she is at the community schools this evening presenting to families about iPads, and she's kind of doing a technology booth, I guess, that teaches and helps parents download applications and talks about Infinite Campus and et cetera. And so that is why she couldn't make it tonight, but a great event over at Jefferson Elementary this evening. She wanted everyone to know that the letters went home this month to families about the iPad summer information, basically letting parents know that 8th through 11th graders can keep their iPads, but if the parents or the students want to hand them in, the collection time will take place next week, May 30th through June 2nd. She also wanted you to know about the fees, that the protection plan, the fees have opened up, the ability to pay the fees. If you're going to pay after June 2nd, because the iPads will go home with the students, you'll need to make an appointment if you want to pay later so she can take a look at the iPads to make sure there's no damages, and then she can collect the fee. But ask that if you do that after the June 2nd date, that you do make an appointment, because she will be the only one available to collect those fees at that time. And then summer technology project, she talked about that we're going to upgrade to Office on 2016 district-wide on all of our workstations. Our server consolidation at our high school and the upgrades will happen this summer also. And we'll be upgrading about 100 iPads. These are the replacements of our first iPads. And so those are just some of the summer events that we'll be doing this year. And just wanted to give a brief update on that. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer them. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Colleen. Thank you. All right. Item 7 is that we have no policy committee report this evening, but item B, we have several policies up for approval. Procedure help, do we need to do these all at once, or can we do these all at once, or do we need to do them individually?
I would make a motion that we do them all at once, but you may want to just read them out for the public to know.
All at once? Everyone comfortable with that? All right, I would entertain a motion for the approval of policy 533, the wellness policy, policy 721, uniform grant guidance policy regarding federal revenue sources, policy 102, equal educational opportunity, policy 206, public participation in school board meetings, complaints about persons at school board meetings, and data privacy considerations, policy 208, development, adoption, and implementation of policies, and Policy 401, equal employment opportunity. I'm going to pause for just a moment. In my notes from our meeting, Mr. Sesker, I have a check next to Policy 206. Was there something there that I'm not in our discussion?
Nope, just wanted the board chair to review that policy.
Ah, yes, the board chair has looked at that policy. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Have to get a motion. We have to get a motion first.
I'll make a motion to approve the policies as read by.
And I'll second.
All right. Now we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Policies are passed, approved. Brings us to item 8, finance. We have a finance committee report. Is that from our board members?
Well, Mr. Chair, I had to leave early. I can comment on the contract approvals.
Okay.
The finance committee did approve those as they're going to be presented to you. But maybe, Richard, did you want to comment on the insurance issue at all or anything else?
Let me get to it.
Okay.
Once you start, and I'll follow.
All right. Well, we have 9 items for action and 1 report, I believe. The contract for Tri-Valley Opportunity Council, Head Start. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sesker, but these are all basically continuing contracts that we have acted on in past years, and we're renewing them for the coming year. Am I correct?
That is correct.
All right. All right, item
I'll make a motion to
1.
approve contract with Tri-Valley Opportunity Council of Faribault Public Schools.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Item carries. Number 2, Nurse Strand Charter School contracts. There are 3, if my memory serves. Custodial, technology, and something.
Licensed nurse
Yep. What are they?
and some special ed services.
More than 3.
Yep, technology.
Any
Yes.
questions or comments?
I will move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Nurse Strand Charter School contracts. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Item carries. Item
Mr. Board
3.
Chair, just a point of order, just to note, you might want to have a discussion or offer the discussion after the second. So you do the motion and then the second, and then ask for a discussion if anybody wants to talk about those contracts, and then go ahead and vote
okay.
on those, just to
All
make
right.
sure you squeeze that in.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, item 3, Nurse Strand Charter School purchase of services 1718 for ASD, EBD, and ECSE teaching services. These are special ed programs, correct?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion, or item carries. Number 4, Nurse Strand Charter School purchases of services school year 17 and 18 for a licensed school nurse.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Item 4 carries. Number 5, Northfield School purchase of services 1718 for B2 facilitator services, birth through 2nd grade.
Actually, birth to 2-year-old. Birth to
through
2-year-old.
2,
Yes.
age 2.
Yes.
Why does it say grade here? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Item 5 carries. Item 6, the Sodexo Food Service Management Contract for 2017 and 18.
Mr. Chair, I would note that some of the employees are here this evening. I don't know if they wanted to comment or add anything, or if they're just here to listen.
After, if you'd like to do it in the discussion, the motion,
I'll make a motion
I would like to
to
have.
I'll
them
make a
introduce.
motion to approve.
All right.
Sodexo contract as presented.
And Andrew?
We have a motion and a second?
Yep.
All right. Is there anyone who would like to have some discussion? Anyone care to present us any information? We don't bite.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We just went through another work session, I guess now, thank you for our continued partnership here in the district.
And I might have you actually come up to the mic, because it does go on TV and everywhere else out in the district, and I'll let you introduce the folks.
Okay. It's nice to see everyone again. My first day here as an interim was at the board meeting. And again, I appreciate the continued partnership with Sodexo. Lori, our district manager, was unable to attend tonight. I'm also here to introduce your new food service director, Brenda Bain.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Brenda comes corporate services with Sodexo, with Cargill.
With Cargill, yes.
And she's was an executive chef there. So she's excited, and I remember from her interview with us, food service in the schools is in her blood because her mother was a lunch lady.
And so was my mother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're very happy to have you, and I know Andy did a ton of work helping set all this up too. Andy Johnson did, so thank you, Andy, also with this whole process, and we're looking forward to working with you again.
Thank you, I'm very excited.
Welcome.
Where'd you come from? What?
I was working as the executive chef at Cargill.
Cargill?
Yes.
Welcome to Faribault.
Thank you.
My mother worked as a cafeteria lady for a number of years. And, she has had many wonderful stories about her time there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the Sodexo Food Service Management Contract for 2017-18, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Item carries. Item 7, Riverbend Nature Center Contract. This is an ongoing contact we've had with the Riverbend for quite some time. I believe there's a small increase in cost for this, reflected in this contract.
Yes, there is, and they've done a really nice job of working with Clean Cardenudo to make sure that the standards are covered in their hands-on experiences with the kids have.
All right, thank you. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Item 7 carries. Item 8, contract with Teresa Rome for MA billing. She's been doing this for some time with us. Been very helpful over the years. There's some changes with CREC changing to and I won't be able to get all the initials.
Alexander Learning Academy.
Okay. In any case, I'd entertain a motion to approve this contract.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to make a quick comment, and if you have follow-up questions, you can certainly ask Andy about this, but as a result of that change that Tom was just talking about, we will see less MA revenue this year in our school, but we'll still be doing MA billing in the Cannon Valley Special Education Co-op, so you'll see less expenditures being billed our way. So the net should be pretty close to what we've received in the past, all right? So if you want, I don't know if we have solid numbers yet, we probably won't until next year, but conceptually it should work out just fine.
Thank you, Mr. Sesker. Do we have a motion?
Yep.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving this contract with Teresa Rome for MA billing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Item 8 carries. Item 9, joint powers agreement with the Minnesota Department of Education. Mr. Sesker, could you make a brief summary of those details, or?
I am going to turn
Rob
this
is
over to
going-
the expert, so.
Delegating is
Yes.
a fine art.
I knew when I had 9 out of 10 contracts to approve, I'd get called up for at least one of them, so that's pretty good odds. Early Childhood applied for a grant from the Minnesota Department of Education for staff development in the area of evidence-based practices. That's using research-based practices in their teaching of early childhood and working with the kids that they work with. And the grant was awarded, and in progression, once the Minnesota Department of Education awards a grant, they want us to sign a joint powers agreement saying what we'll use the money for, mostly for staff development. It totals $41,000 over 5 years, and it's prorated. Like the first year you get more money, the second year you get a little less, the third year a little less, the fourth year a little less. Comes with training from the Department of Education, and they'll send out experts to talk with our early childhood staff. And we agree to use the money that we get for staff development for things related to that training.
Thank you. I believe we need a motion for item 9.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions for Rob?
Credit to the staff for applying for that.
Yep.
It's a
Yes.
great resource.
Thank you very much. All right, all those in favor of approving the joint powers agreement, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Item 9 is approved.
Can I go back a little bit? Do you know who did the motion on that one?
I thought,
That motion, I second.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, we're a little slow.
all right, item 10
We're
is,
just cruising so
You
quickly.
guys are going
through
fast.
item 10, community education staffing changes and a new coordination plan. This is a report.
Yeah, and I'll start, and then I'll have Emery's at the community school, so she's obviously, she can't be in 2 places at the same time. But Nicole will certainly fill in the gaps. What we have looked at is doing a little bit more streamlining with individuals. We have 3 folks that are doing different jobs, and we think by hiring a coordinator full-time, we'll be able to streamline those things. There's no additional cost to this. It's just a shift in responsibilities from 3 staff members on to 1. So what will happen is that our current secondary curriculum coordinator will now move full-time to community education, which means that we have a half-time secondary coordinator that will be open for us. So we'll figure out how to fill that piece. And we've been visiting with Ms. Carnudo to see how we want to do that. And we are in the process of looking at that position, but we wanted to make sure that we have this hired first. Okay?
So Todd, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is this what Phil, is this Phil that's
Yes,
moving
yep,
over
he'd be
full-time?
moving over. Yep, he'd be moving full-time to community education.
I got you.
Okay,
Thank
as a coordinator.
And we can expect an action item at some point on this.
Yes. Yeah, we wanted to just give you a report so you know what's going on, and then once we get, I'm going to turn this over right now, that's a good segue, to let Nicole let you know what they've been working on for this all to work out.
So Amory has three different coordinators changing in their roles right now. One with Kids World, our school age childcare. One with our
High school.
I'm drawing a blank. Yes, our enrichment and facilities coordinator. And then we also have another individual who's working with our after-school programming, who's leaving and going to Cairo. So he doesn't want to commute. Anyways, we'll have a nice opportunity now for Amory to take those positions and really restructure them into one sound coordinator to be doing those higher level things, budgeting things, and really helping assist within those areas. Her programs are growing tremendously, and she's doing a terrific job with her community outreach and all these different programs. So this will be a nice way for her to really streamline her department. So right now, the position that Todd was referring to with the secondary curriculum coordinator, the position with the community ed is actually posted right now. It closes today. So it could affect Phil because Phil's position is the curriculum piece that was reduced. So it's posted today, and it closes today, so she'll be doing interviews for her coordinating position probably within the next few days.
Thank you. All right, that being a report, no motions required. Item 8C, the enrollment report for May.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's good for our school district. We've jumped up 14 students, and just keep in mind that we still do not have the tuition kids included in that number, and we'll do that after the school year ends. And that's usually between 40 and 60 kids.
Any further questions regarding enrollment? All right, that would bring us to C2, financial, for the May report.
I don't believe I left the meeting early, Richard. I'm guessing there were no concerns over the financial report.
I don't think these figures really meant a lot, Andy, because there was fill in the blanks here.
Good evening. Yes, as Richard said, the report that was presented to Finance Committee didn't have the correct budget information, so we didn't really go into a lot of detail, but these are now the accurate numbers. And later on in the agenda, you'll be getting the final budget for the school year, so that'll have a lot more information in it.
Thank you. Yep.
But the almost 7.5 and unassigned, that's correct.
Yes.
7.455.
That was the unassigned last year.
Then all the
yes.
rest is garbage.
No, all of it's correct now. We corrected it before it went to the board.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think just one other comment too. I think with the hire of our controller, we finally have Andy back in her full-time position as Director of Finance and Operations. So this has evolved after some of the hiccups we experienced in the middle of the year, as you guys know. So thanks for Andy for covering both of them. And now Pam is on board, and she'll be presenting a lot of these reports to the Finance Committee.
All right. Thank you very much. And why won't this back up? No, I didn't do that. I thought I was so prepared, and now I've had a technical difficulty. I'm going to go back here, here, here. Here, here. Oh, that's what I was trying to get to, and I hit the wrong thing. All right, I'll borrow yours. Thank you. There it is. Item 8C3, Resolution 1723, Acceptance of Gifts and Donations. We have a rather lengthy list, so please bear with me while we thank the individuals and the organizations that are contributing to the education of our young people. Item 1, donations for the robotics program. $500 from the Mercury Corporation. Godfather's Pizza, $138.71. The Elks Club, number 1166, in the amount of $100. And Faribault Rotary Youth Services in the amount of $50. All those for the robotics program. A donation for Kids in Need Foundation from Joanne Fabrics, supplies for students in schools valued at $446.10. A number of items here donated for the Faribault DECA program, National DECA Conference sponsors. Pawn, Minnesota in the amount of $30. Archambault Brothers in the amount of $25. Cedar Lake Electric in the amount of $50. Richard Houston in the amount of $100. Reliance Bank in the amount of $100. Bolt Funeral Home in the amount of $100. Affinity Plus in the amount of $100. Ritchie Eye Clinic in the amount of $150. The Faribault Rotary Club in the amount of $100. Faribault Farm and Home Supply in the amount of $100. And Heavy Metal Barbell in the amount of $100. All those for the Faribault DECA program. And a donation for the Community Ed Enrichment Program, Run for Fun support, Alina Health System in the amount of $500. So to all those individuals and organizations, I would like to express the thanks to the Faribault School Board and the Faribault Public Schools, to these individuals and organizations for their support. We value it greatly. Thank you all. Thank you. All right, I believe I need a motion and a second to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the acceptance of gifts and donations. Would you please read the roll?
Tom.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Yvette.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Andrea.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, it passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. Brings us to item 9. The Insurance Committee. Ms. Johnson, are you getting a workout tonight?
Just trying to get my steps in. Okay, we met as an insurance committee on Thursday, April 27th, and we went over the different areas of insurance that the district has. A couple of good news items. Our life and LTD, life and long-term disability renewals came in at a rate freeze for 2 years, so that's really great. That's what was in the budget, so that's great. Our work comp rates came in at an actual decrease. If you remember a couple of years ago, or this last school year, we went into a different carrier that their sole purpose is to work with districts that have high work comp rates and really work with us to help get them down, and that's been successful. So we're expecting roughly a $30,000 decrease in our work comp rates, which is great. We are currently in the process of getting additional quotes for our property and casualty insurance. Our agent indicated that he thinks we can save some money there, so that's in process. That will come in June. And we received our HITA bid, so every 3 years we have to go out for, or every 2 years, we have to go out for health insurance bids. And we received 3 bids in from Blue Cross, which is our current carrier, Medica, and then PEEP, which is a public employees insurance program. Our bids came in, they were rather high, so we asked them to make sure that that was the best bid that they could have. And Blue Cross came back and offered a better rate at 12.9%. So that's a significant increase that we'll have to factor in when it comes to negotiations. Yeah, not great news, but not the worst of what districts have received to this go-round, surely. So, any questions on insurance committee?
Any reason for the medical such high?
Just high usage of claims. Yep. They look at our experience, how much, what our utilization is the term that they use, and based on our experience in the last year, that's what they felt our rates warranted. And we're part of a pool, the South Central Service Co-op pool. So there's a group of many different school districts in southern Minnesota or South Central Minnesota that's in the pool. So we actually benefit from that there's a larger base, that some districts may get a little bit higher rate increase than perhaps was warranted if they were on their own. We actually save a little bit of money because of that pool.
Do you know the average of all the districts?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. No report from the Wellness Committee. No report from the Community Education Committee. Community Task Force Committee, no report this evening. Facility Committee, no report. And Mr. Dennert, a Special Services report.
I wanted to update the school board on the status of our ADSYS grant. You may recall back in November and December, we were talking about adding some different programs at the high school in regards to the 9th grade academy, and at the middle school in regards to the middle school schedule. And part of the staffing plan that we had created was contingent on getting the ADSYS grant, or ADSYS, approved by the Department of Education. ADSYS stands for Alternate Delivery of Specialized Instructional Services, and we found out last week that they approved our grant. So we're going to be able to put those salaries through the special education funding formula. So for our district, it means about reimbursement of about $300,000 on the money that we're spending on the $700,000 we're spending for the whole program. It goes towards the 6 interventionists at the elementary schools, 2 at each building, 1 interventionist at the middle school for behavior, and 2 interventionists in the 9th grade academy, 1 for language arts and 1 for behavior. So that's good news, pretty good news.
Yes.
Great job.
Good job.
Thank you very much. We can use all the good news we can get. All right. In item 10, other matters, item A is consider approval of the emergency shelter contracts. And I believe this has to do with our trailer parks and using school facilities as shelter for
That is correct.
inclement weather.
That's correct.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any other comments or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Emergency shelter contract is approved. We have a presentation regarding the facilities plan update.
Yeah, and so I don't know if we need a second to set up or not, or maybe we're ready to go. And we have our architects, Wold Architects are here, both Paul and Sal, to review the information that you guys have seen. We want to make sure the public sees the same information, so we are going to present that. You have seen this before, but we want to make sure that the public sees this as well. And then it will allow you to have some follow-up questions. Hopefully you read my memo on the board agenda. And then I also am going to ask Miss Becky Ford, maybe Andy will come up there with her to make a couple of comments, because Becky was also on our facility task force with the community. So, okay? All right, thanks you guys.
All right, thanks for having us tonight. For those of you that don't know, I'm Paul Aplikowski with Wold Architects, and this is?
I'm Sal Bagley with Wold Architects. Good evening.
And as Todd mentioned, we're doing information that you've seen and anybody else that's paying attention pretty much has seen, because it's been out there a number of times, but we want to run through it and make sure that everyone understands the whole process that's been gone through. So the first slide up here really talks about the overall process that we've been on. That predates our involvement in the district with your ad hoc committees and your facilities committees talking about issues for a number of years. And then starting at mid-year last year with a concerted effort to gather the community task force, run them through all of the issues that your district's facing, and come up with some recommendations for you as a board. And then I think if we go, do we have the next slide on this? This one is a zoomed-in view. That's really where we're at in the process now. So you've received the report from the committee. You've been doing deliberations, and we're on track, should the board choose to do so, to go out to the public and ask for their help in addressing your facility issues. So, as you know, that's the point we're at now. Spend a little bit of time on the task force and the work that they did. We had a good representation, a good cross-section of the community that were involved in the process. You can see here all the members of that. They spent a great deal of time learning about your district and deliberating about it. As you know, they were given a charge, which is the next slide. We'll spend a little bit of time on that. Their goal was to bring you a recommendation for a facilities master plan that met the following criteria. Best serve the district's educational goals, be financially attainable and sustainable, accommodate the district's pre-K-12 enrollment and other programs, cover anticipated needs for the next 10 years, as well as recognize major issues beyond 10 years, be consistent with the school district's strategic vision, recommend optimal use of facilities, accommodate projected enrollment, and support educational delivery along with the rationale for the recommendations, and suggest areas of recreation that benefit the entire city and school district. So those were the pieces they were given to start with. Then as we led into the process, we helped them with a number of reports, both prepared by us and as well as other people within the district. But they looked at enrollment projections, capacity and how that related to enrollment, safety and security issues, some of the latest concepts in educational space and learning and the way that education is changing in the 21st century. They received presentations from all of the buildings, and that was a follow-on to the presentations that were done on the ad hoc committee before that. We looked into activities and athletics and your needs with that in the district, and then quite an extensive study that we did with Kevin Hildebrand, looking at the deferred maintenance needs or the needs, the backlog of needs in your district that needed to be addressed or that would benefit from some attention. The task force met approximately 8 times, I think that's the right number, and went through a process of, I kind of think of it in thirds. The first third is sort of learning about things, the middle third is discussing things, and the last third is figuring out what their recommendation is going to be. And I don't know if this is a good time if you wanted to have some words, we could invite some
sure.
guests up to speak a little bit about
There you go, Becky, your segue.
We didn't plan this, so sorry about that.
I surprised Becky tonight too. So.
She gets so fancy.
Oh, you want to do it there? That's fine. You okay?
So what do you want to know?
Introduce yourself and then kind of summarize what your experience was on the facility
Great.
committee.
I'm Becky Ford, and I was privileged to be able to participate in the ad hoc committee as well as the facilities task force. It was a really great process. I think it brought together a diverse group of people sort of representing different views in our community, but really all wanting the same goal of benefiting our young people. It was kind of, as Paul alluded to, we kind of learned about things and sort of got our bearings about what the school district currently has available to them and how things are being used, and then took a look at things like capacity and how the different spaces are being used. And I think many of us on the task force were struck with how learning has changed over the years, and that our buildings really aren't designed to meet the needs of all the different kinds of learners that the district serves. And so then sort of moving through that and thinking about different potential solutions, and then making decisions about that as a group, and really being able to come to consensus on it was really important. So it was a great experience. Thanks to you guys, and appreciate the opportunity as a community member to be able to participate in the process.
Thank you for all your effort.
Maybe don't go far in case the board wants to ask questions. But thanks. So as I said, they met over the course of 8 meetings. Really the last 2 or 3 was where things started to come into focus. And I would say that the task force really came together in a pretty comprehensive way at that point. I think during the course of the process, it was hard to predict which way it was going to go. There was a lot of different things being discussed, but as a group, I think they really came together. We've also, we've got more copies if you want them, but the task force criteria is an important document in that planning.
They do have those electronic, yeah, they have it.
We are not going to go through those in great detail. I think we did that at your last board meeting, so we won't spend a lot of time doing that. But one thing to understand about the process that we go through is it's not a solution-based process. It doesn't start out with what you want to do or what you think you should do. It starts out with figuring out what the issues are, defining them and quantifying them, and that's really what this criteria is about. So we spent a great deal of time. Sometimes people get a little aggravated with how much time we spend going through the things in a textual form. We create a narrative around what are the issues in the district, and then really that becomes a document that the task force can kind of come together around the needs. Then we start working on solutions, so that's an important part of our process. So the task force did come to some conclusions and made a recommendation to you, and I'm going to let Sal run through those for you.
Sure. So
From a 30,000-foot view, the recommendation to the board, there's some district-wide scope, so issues that really affect all of your facilities that the task force felt was important to address. So safety and security at all your buildings, both inside and outside, so site safety as well as screening visitors at the main office, taking control of all the entries to the buildings. So that's relevant to district-wide. Some maintenance needs, mostly code-required life safety and accessibility upgrades, so you've taken care of a lot of your mechanical, electrical work, but there are some projects yet to do, especially things you'll be required to do once you go do projects. So maintenance needs across the district. It was referenced a little bit during the previous comments, but just the ways that your buildings do not really address the needs of all of your learners in your district. So the need for flex space and areas to do flexible learning and personalized learning, intervention, things that are crowded into closets or on the stages or sharing spaces that shouldn't be. So really taking some space inside the buildings to create dedicated space. And then also accommodating some maker space at all of the buildings. So that you can see in the diagrams we'll go over in a minute, that manifests itself differently at every grade level. But that was important to the task force. And then a couple other topics that we'll go through on the diagrams. Can you go back one? Thanks. So that was district-wide scope, but in terms of some of the other major components of their recommendation, they did recommend, after much deliberation on how to solve the elementary space needs, to create a new early childhood center, including all district-wide kindergarten. So that would replace all of the programming at McKinley, including some projected growth and some of their deficiencies.
It's probably helpful to point out that the need behind that really is that your elementary schools are quite full. You've been experiencing real issues there, trying to figure out how to accommodate some of these other programs that have grown over time. And the idea of doing an early childhood center, again, was not one of those things that came at the beginning. It grew out of the need to address that space at the early childhood. So the real building block of this is moving kindergartens out of the elementary schools to make more space there. The task force then arrived at the idea that a new building would be the best way to address that.
Sure. So there are a couple different options they considered there, but this is what they eventually recommended to you as the board. Similarly, activities and athletic space district-wide is a challenge, especially for getting people home on time to get good time for dinner and homework and especially sleep. So the task force weighed heavily how to best address that in the district. So after some deliberation about how big it should be and where it should be, they did eventually recommend constructing an event center at the high school site. We can go over the details of that in a little bit. And then they also considered quite a bit the present ALC. So that building needs quite a bit of deferred maintenance, and I know some of that has been put on hold while the future of the building was debated. They also lack some of the essential space they need, especially a space to do physical education. They have nowhere to do any sort of PE. So after looking at a couple different options, including renovating and adding on to what they have, or relocating to other locations in the district, the task force recommended constructing a new ALC at their present location. So a new facility, but on the same site. So that's kind of a big picture overview of the task force recommendations. I think next we have some diagrams that really help explain some of the detail there. So I'll go into detail on Jefferson Elementary as it really applies to Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt, but that first topic there is to do an addition for a new main office to create a secure vestibule. So what that really does is create the relationship that your visitors to your district are greeted. Their first greeting is by a person instead of a buzzer. So the idea is that visitors are funneled into the office and they're greeted by a receptionist, and they are screened before they're allowed into the rest of your building. And those new office additions also help correct some of the office needs that the buildings have. So some, especially like Jefferson, has no conferencing space, no space for some of their itinerant office needs. So it's a dual purpose, both security and writing some of the space they need. At all of the elementary schools, they would like to create a bus loop to separate bus and parent traffic. So there's quite an orchestration that happens in front of your buildings every day as parents try to drop off and buses try to drop off and students try to walk. So the task force really wanted to create some separation between those two streams of traffic to improve site safety. And you'll see what that looks like at every building. Going along with adding a new office, the existing office space is proposed to be renovated into some of that needed intervention space. At Jefferson in particular, the kitchen and food service area is quite small, so there's a small addition proposed there to correct that shortage.
And then as Paul alluded to, this solution takes 4 of the kindergarten rooms kind of offline, and they'll be rebuilt somewhere else in the district. So those 4 rooms can be remodeled into intervention and flexible learning space. It doesn't say it on here, but maker space as well. And then some required code, life safety, and accessibility upgrades. So that's the scope at Jefferson Elementary. The next slide is a site plan. So what that shows is the existing building is shown in gray and any additions are shown in white. So you can see there that there's a proposed food service and office addition on the front of the building. And then reworking the hard surface play area to create a spot for buses to queue up along the curb line, and then that can be used at lunchtime for hard surface play. So some multi-function paving area there, and then they don't have to be on the street. As I know, the drop-off on this site is particularly challenging.
And we should point out that both these site diagrams and the building plans that we're showing you are not final designs. They're really just preliminary things to help us figure out how much square footage we need to affect, because that's how we assign budgets to things. So all of that process would happen after the referendum with stakeholder involvement, and it may change from what you see here.
Sal, can I just ask one question?
Of
Todd, is
course.
all this information already on our school district website?
Yes.
It is?
Yep.
Easy on the front homepage to find? and
You
whatnot?
have to go through, I think it's district, and then it's down on the bottom there for the district. And then it just has school facilities. It's pretty easy to get.
It's just a couple clicks.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So as Paul alluded to, these are really kind of feasibility diagrams. So what we're showing here is the blue highlighted areas are areas that are slated to be renovated. So it's the 4 kindergarten rooms and then the existing main office. And then on this, it shows the area that you would add a new main office and some food service addition. And not really well represented on this because it's a little hard to show graphically is the code required upgrades. So there are upgrades across the building, especially in your toilets to make them accessible, make the stage accessible, things like that. Going on to Lincoln, the scope is very similar. Of course, they have unique challenges, so it's manifested differently, but an addition for a main office for that secure vestibule relationship, creating a bus loop to separate parent and bus traffic, renovating the existing office into some intervention and flex space, renovating the 4 existing kindergarten rooms into that flexible learning and maker space, and then the required code, life safety, and accessibility upgrades. Here at Lincoln, we think we can redo some of that southern parking lot into that bus loop and then replace the lost parking from that in the northern parking lot. And again, the gray building is the existing footprint and the white would represent where an office addition might go. And again, here's a feasibility diagram of how that would work out at Lincoln. So the blue areas show where a budget's been put to renovation, but it wouldn't necessarily be those rooms in particular. We would go through a design process with the building users. And then the orange represents at least the scale of the office addition that's been budgeted. Roosevelt Elementary, it has similar scope. It's your newest elementary school, so it doesn't have some of the same challenges, especially from the accessibility side. But there's a proposed addition for a new main office for that secure vestibule, renovation of the existing office into makerspace and flexible learning space, ability for grade levels to come together or teachers to do team teaching. So we've been talking with Terry there about what they might do with that building. And then here it's only proposed that 2 of the kindergarten rooms be renovated into that intervention and flexible learning spaces. They aren't quite as strapped for interventionist space as some of the older buildings. And there still are some code and life safety upgrades that need to happen here, but given that it's a newer building, it's not as extensive. So this building already really has the appropriate relationship for the parent and bus drop-off, so that's not proposed, but again, you can see the existing building outline in gray, and the white would represent that office addition on the parent drop-off side of the building. And then here you can see that the 2 existing kindergarten rooms that are over by the gym and music space are proposed to be renovated into that intervention or maker space. The existing main office that's kind of central in the building would be renovated, and then the orange represents the office addition or where it could go. For Near Strand, their needs are different, but of course still important. So right now they have a portable classroom for music, so students exit the building, which is not very safe from a school security standpoint. So there's a proposal to replace their portable classroom, which has been there for quite some time, not very portable, with a permanent facility. And then their intervention and special education needs have grown similar to the rest of the buildings in the district. So they have a small area in their media center that they do that programming in presently, but there's a proposal to create really a dedicated space for that as an addition. And then some required code, life safety, and accessibility upgrades. So you can see where the addition could go at Nearstrand. There's no other proposed site work here. And then in terms of the floor plan of the building, at this time we've shown that you could put the music and sped addition kind of at the end of the corridor there. So near where you presently go out to the portable. So, and that's shown in orange. But all right. So now we've gotten to the middle school. So the middle school office has most of the right relationships for what you need for a secure vestibule. So there's some renovation of being able to rework the workstations for the receptionists. So there's a little bit better waiting space right when you enter the office, but they already have the right relationship of going right into the office from the vestibule. So not as much work needed here. And then the major proposal at the middle school is kind of multifunctional to solve a lot of their different needs. So they have struggles with circulation in this building, having enough cafeteria space, and really wanting to be able to make the media center into a flexible learning area so that students have somewhere to go do personalized learning. So there's a proposal to renovate really the entire core of the building into a commons. So that would help with lots of those different issues in one solution. That being said, there's still need for more cafeteria space given that you'd like to go from 6 lunch periods to 3, so some additional cafeteria space and a needed health classroom as you're increasing your FTE there. And then some renovations of the science area and the auditorium, and then required code, life safety, and accessibility upgrades. So at the middle school, you can see here there's the cafeteria and health addition shown in white off the back of the building at the site we're at right now. And then in the middle school diagram here, you can kind of see that there's a blue area over the entire core of the building. So to both create kind of an entry space right when you enter the building, open up that core of the building, extend the cafeteria, reimagine the media center as flexible learning area, and improve the circulation around the building. So that's all proposed to be renovated into a commons. And you can see that there in the blue. And then the yellow represents, the yellow at the main office represents that there's a budget put to renovating a little bit of that reception area to get better relationships. The orange shows the cafeteria and health proposed addition locations, and then the green really represents that there's a budget to renovate the auditorium, mostly in the lights and sound system and some of the curtains, as well as a seat replacement, auditorium seat replacement. Okay, at the high school, similarly to address the safety and security, there's an addition proposed to move the main office so that people really enter right into the reception area when they arrive at the building. There's a proposal of the entire, what's now the industrial tech area, to really recreate it to match the programming you'd like to be able to deliver in terms of STEAM and career pathways and things of that nature. There's a budget to renovate the newcomer space, which is a programming you've had for a couple years that they have taken over an available space, but it's not really dedicated learning space. It doesn't do everything they need it to do. There's an addition of a science lab and a SPED classroom proposed. And then a light renovation and mostly a furniture budget for the media center to be able to support it as flexible learning area for all of the adjacent classrooms to use. And then a budget to renovate the existing locker rooms. They're in the lower level of the building. They're not presently accessible, and they have some other challenges as well, so a budget put to that. And a light renovation of the music area and auditorium. It's newer, but they do need a few things like some more sound private practice rooms, and a replacement of their acoustic shell, namely in the auditorium. And then quite a few code, life safety, and accessibility upgrades, given that it's such a large building. So, when we go to the site plan, you can see the existing building is in gray, and the proposed additions are in white. One major thing you'll notice here is the proposed event center addition, and that's just one way to plug onto the building. Of course, there would be a design process with stakeholders, but that's about the order of magnitude that addition would take up on this site, as well as some additional parking shown that event center would likely create some more demand. And you'll notice here that even if the addition went off the south, you would likely have to relocate something on the high school site. So whether it be fields or the tennis courts, at this point, the budget includes reconstructing the tennis courts at another location, but that could be further discussion as well. And then in terms of the high school diagram, all the same colors apply, so you can see that the green shows some renovation in the auditorium. The lighter blue color is really just meant to show areas of light renovation, so not heavy renovation, total reconfiguration, but some work happening there. The darker blue color is the area that's proposed to be renovated into that STEAM or career pathways in the present industrial tech area. And then all of the orange colors are proposed addition locations. So to the north would be that science and SPED classroom, and to the south would be the office, and then really the programmatic elements from the event center, so a lobby, and then the gym spaces and all the supporting elements. In terms of the new early childhood center, given that a site's not been chosen, we don't have a diagram for it. But really what's included in terms of scope is the 12 kindergarten classrooms, so that's taking all of your district-wide kindergarten and placing it at this building. So those are large kindergarten classrooms with dedicated toilet rooms, which not all of your buildings have now, given that you had to absorb all day K, so you have kind of half the right size and half not. So that'll be corrected. There's of course a gym and cafeteria needed for that, with a dedicated kitchen with all of your kindergarten being located there. And then there are 12 early childhood rooms planned, so that accommodates your projected growth. So we've been working closely with the administration on that. And then, of course, a litany of support spaces and offices, lots of required spaces. And like I said before, the site is to be determined, so further discussion needed there.
And we should point out the vast majority of those early childhood rooms are existing. They're replacing existing ones. I think the growth is...
It's 5, I think, 5, yeah.
So.
And then we've called it here really replacing the ALC building, but it's also correcting some of the needs that they have. So the recommendation is to construct a new building on the existing site and to plan for a capacity of 140 students. So I think your enrollment kind of hovers around 116, 117 right now, but knowing that that's been a growing program for you, we've worked with the administration to plan around that 140 students. And then there's some increase in program spaces. So I mentioned it before, but they don't have anywhere to do any sort of life skills or FACS programming. So there's a FACS lab planned, a gymnasium so that they're able to do the PE and kind of life health talents that they need to teach. And then a small cafeteria, as well as the students right now kind of go to a small half classroom, pick up lunch, and then all go back to their classrooms presently. So some of those needs are corrected in this proposal. Also, things that are planned are to improve the building orientation so that it's a little more intuitive when you show up what's the front door, and to improve the security situation, and parking. So that's the proposal at the proposed new ALC building at the same site. So all of that detail, of course, took a lot of time for the task force to put together, and so now that we know the scope of the recommendation, we have put budgets to all of that work. So that first component that went through all of the individual buildings, what we called the district-wide scope, is estimated to be about $28.3 million project costs. The new early childhood and kindergarten center is estimated to be $27.4 million in project costs. The event center at the high school is projected to be a $23.1 million in project cost. And the new ALC building would be just over $8 million in project costs. For the entire recommendation at this time totals $86.8 million.
And that 86 is a recommended budget. So as you know, you'll have to go through a public bidding process for construction and all those things. This number is a recommended budget number that includes everything you need to get the project done. So there's design fees, building permit fees. If you hire a construction manager or something like that, it would have fees for that, contingencies for the project. So that's meant to be the whole value that you would need to get the job done. So I think with that, we're ready for any questions you might have.
I do not mean to preclude any questions by any board members, but I would like to express my thanks on our behalf for all the work that you have contributed, the explanations, the reports that we've been receiving for some months now have been very helpful, and I would like to encourage the public to investigate these documents as available on our website. This is a process that we'll be voting on shortly, whether to continue. I anticipate that we will continue, and I would encourage the community to inform itself about what's included and what needs are being satisfied by this quite extensive upgrade of our facility. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Further questions, items?
I did hand out to you the documentation because you did ask for the tax impact on this proposal. And if you can just go through the pages with me, the very first page, it's actually page 0, I guess. It's the one that says, "Hi Todd and Andy, this is a letter coming from Ehlers." And what that, the reason why I put that in there, I wanted you to see what the median residential homestead value was in the district at $153,100, and the average residential homestead is $172,800. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to get as close to that average as we could with those projections. You have all the details in there for those, and you're certainly welcome to that. But if you go to page 13, at the very back, I just put a quick summary together for you. Now this is the net, so keep in mind that obviously when you have a proposal, you increase the taxes, and we also wrapped around some of those other bond payments, so that's going to reduce the taxes. So I just put the net. If you want the details, just go back and look at it, okay? So that first page there, do you guys want a page? I guess I need to get it. So the first page, or that page on the first column is the bond and levy, and then per year, and then an operating and levy per year, and then I put the total per year. So, for example, for an $87 million bond levy and a $950,000 operating levy, and these again are getting pretty tight now, they're pretty close. We'll have the final one at the June 29th board meeting, so you'll have the actual numbers once we get there, but these are getting pretty close. So if you look at a 20-year, remember we discussed 3 different types of payments, a 20-year, a 25-year, and a 30-year repayment. The total per year is, for 20 years on that bond and that levy, is $309 per year. For the 25-year, it's $263 per year increase in taxes, and a $242 per year in taxes. And that's based now on a $175,000 home, because we wanted to get the average home. If you look at it per month, because some of you were asking me what's that breakdown per month, I did that too. So I just took the number divided by 12, and you can see the impact for each of those different items. So the total per month for a 20-year repayment would be about $25.75 per month. 25-year would be $21.92. And then for a 30-year repayment, if we decided to go that route, would be $20.17. And then somebody asked me for it per day, so I did that too. And if you look at the per day, the 20-year repayment would be about 85 cents a day. The 25-year repayment would be about 72 cents a day. And the 30-year repayment would be about 66 cents per day on a $175,000 home. I didn't do ag and I didn't do business on there, but again, those are in here for the documents. It's just to give you a sense of what that tax impact would be if the board chose to put this to the voters next fall.
Todd, we should probably just clarify that the operating levy could only run for 10 years maximum.
Oh, yes,
so
I'm sorry.
it wouldn't run for the full terms that you've got on.
That's correct, yeah, thank you. I did not put, yeah, that's correct. So the operating levy is only for 10 years. That's correct. Thanks, Paul. Yep.
When do we decide on the 20, 25, or 30?
That'll be our next work session in June. And so we're giving you this information now, so you have it. So when we have our next work session in June, we'll take the recommendation of the board and put that on the board agenda when we do the resolution at the official June meeting.
Is there a decision tonight on whether or not this is all one question or split questions?
No, it is not. And again, we'll have that in the resolution. But the total project, we put the max on. We took John's advice, and we decided to put the max of what this would cost. So we're not going to go over this amount, but you can certainly go back and reduce it with those separate questions if you decide to do so.
So if I understand it correctly, really the only thing we're deciding tonight is, do we want to move forward, details on terms, details such as, I guess, the length of repayment, whether or not there are multiple questions. For example, do we split any of the bond up into multiple questions? Or is the operating levy a separate levy, or does it get rolled into the current levy with a repeal in place? Those decisions are for a later date, and we're talking about June.
That's correct, yep, and those will all be discussion items at the June work session.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're only gonna talk about on the ballot, that's it?
Yeah, well, this just gives the board, when the board votes on this tonight, if they vote in favor of it, would be to allow us to go ahead and find out what those details are, and you're basically saying that we are putting this on the November ballot. And same thing, both the operating and the bond on the November ballot.
And not to exceed.
And not to exceed those amounts, that is correct.
Just to clarify that too, so through the month of June, what we'll do is continue to prepare more paperwork. There's filings to the Minnesota Department of Education, they need to be done. Your legal counsel will help prepare the ballot language for your consideration, as well as the financial information. So you're really, what you're doing is authorizing the administration to go through that planning process and bring it back to you.
So this actually starts you really working.
Well, we've been working for a while.
But you go to the next step.
Finer points, yes. Finer points are developed.
Todd, the number we're discussing is that 87 million as the high point.
That's correct.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of Resolution 1724.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 1724, authorizing the Faribault Public School Administration to pursue a bond referendum on November 7th, 2017, that would fund up to $87 million in project costs. Now, Mr. Superintendent, you mentioned your memorandum from earlier. Is now the time that, to me, it would seem to be appropriate for us to canvass the board in terms of what you believe about the bond and operating levy would mean to the community, staff, and students of Faribault Public Schools.
Yeah, this would be an appropriate time.
So I would invite board members, hopefully.
Mr. Chair, oh,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to invite board members to contribute their thoughts before we take action on this resolution. I think this is a point where we can speak to each other and to the community about what we think this bond and operating levy would mean to our community.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to speak first, if that's
Please.
okay. Of course, I've stated before, my number one priority is security. Make sure all our buildings are secure at the front entrance, and also would include cameras and whatever technology we can get in there to watch our kids and our staff and whatever. Second would be of the space needs in our 3 elementaries. They're very crowded. We've had grandma speaking or crying at some of our meetings about teaching kids out in the hallway. But if they vacate some rooms in each of the elementaries and switch it over, hopefully to the McKinley site of early childhood, and then remove that old building, and then really create a super early childhood site, brand new construction with the kindergarten, the early childhood, and Head Start. Head Start. And finally, of the ALC, and I've stated this before, the ALC building is not really worth anything. To renovate it would cost, what, 75% cost, 80%, which is, you still get an old building. So I like that. At that site, I think it would help all our kids and our staff, keep them safe, and then I think it would improve the quality of education in our district. So I will definitely vote yes for the next 2 resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Anyone else care to speak?
Well, I will be voting yes for the two resolutions as well. Over the last couple weeks, just thinking about this opportunity, I think it really shows the board and the community value our students and our future. I really think there's so many opportunities that are going to come from these facilities that I've just started to learn about, and I think going forward, the staff are really going to take advantage of all the opportunities to improve education for our students. I think the event center is a great opportunity to integrate our community and support it going forward, and I think as a board that we are being courageous and asking the community to be courageous and go forward with this plan. It's a very ambitious plan, and it's pretty exciting.
Mr. Chair, clarification. I also support the event center, but I'm waiting for Chad to speak on that.
All right.
Put you on the spot.
Thank you.
Well, I also will be voting yes for both of these resolutions. I'm just going to keep it simple. There's growth, there's opportunity, and there's possibilities with all of this. And if there's not some piece of what we're proposing that everybody can grab on to, I'll be surprised. And so I support it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, students, when they walk into the door of many other communities, that Faribault has not updated its facilities for our students in many, many years. And it impacts them. There's no question. They notice it, they comment on it. They note that we have not put in the resources in recent years that other communities they are visiting do. And I think it's important for them to be able to see that our community cares as much for them as other communities care for their kids. And then secondly, a similar story in terms of the robotics team. I've had so many members of my robotics team come up to me and say, you know, we were just down in Owatonna, and they have an entire room for the robotics team. They have a dedicated space for robotics. And they note that we don't in Faribault. That's something that other communities have, and that we don't. So again, I think they notice and they see when our facilities don't represent, I think, the care and concern. I don't question at all that this community has an incredible commitment to its students. And I think this bond is just one of the ways that we're going to be able to show our students that and have it a reminder every day when they walk into their renewed facilities that this community is behind them 100%.
Excuse me. I'll be supporting both issues. My deal is parents want students to enjoy going to school. They want them safe, and they want them getting an academic preparation that will allow them to go forward and pursue whatever they want to pursue. I've lived firsthand what excellent facilities can do for students in terms of community pride and those types of issues. And I'll also say that I've lived firsthand with the types of facilities and buildings that the Wold architects and engineers can provide to a district, but they need the support of the community to do that. So it's an exciting project. I'm very grateful that all the people did all the work on it, and I'll be voting yes.
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but first off, thank you to the staff, a tremendous amount of time, Kevin, Todd, everybody else involved. Thank you to the committees that took a lot of time away from their families and loved ones. Thank you to the board. This is a big step, and going out on a limb and helping make this community and the school district a better place. So thank you. And thank you to Wold for doing a great job. And I think everybody who was part of those committees have said those same statements. Thank you. So this hits home on a lot of areas. Richard, you said it, safety, learning, activity space. Jason, you mentioned it. I think everybody's mentioned it. But it also, I think, ties into the 2040 vision that our community and our city council did, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago type of thing, and about having great schools, having great facilities, and the economic impact that the event center field house could potentially have in bringing people here and whatnot. So I don't think that should be overlooked either. And Jason, you mentioned the goals of pride and whatnot, and it hits one other goal as well. 2 of our 4 goals that we just ratified in the last several months, and great facilities, improved facilities, and school spirit and pride. So it hits both of those, and so and it also hits our elementary space in our learning, the space issues that we have there. It helps at all the schools, and so once again, I'll be supporting it. No shock to anybody on this board, I don't think, but just thank you all for your support of this. It's a great project, and it's going to take all of our support to get it passed. But it's a great thing for our 3,800 students if we can get this past the finish line. It's a great thing for our 25,000 members of our community. So thank you.
I'd like to indicate my support for these 2 questions. For me, excellence in education is the reason that we are here. I think the plans that have been described will provide great spaces for great programs. The quest for an excellent education is an ongoing process, and it will evolve as we pursue this, and it will evolve regardless as we go into the future. I've been in this district for 43 years. I've seen some very great successes. I've seen some frustrating situations, but I think this plan offers us the opportunity to provide for our young people, provide for our community the facilities that will make their efforts at achieving a great education able to come true, and our efforts at providing a quality education easier to provide. So I too will be voting for both of these questions. And I would like to take this opportunity again to thank Wold, the task force, the committee that worked so hard. And I'd like to invite the community to get involved, to learn about what's going on, the problems that these facilities are intended to remedy. I've seen teachers working in closets and in the hallway while other people are running past, and these are not acceptable, in my opinion, for a community in Minnesota. And I would like to see us provide these facilities for the benefit of future generations. I was trying to do some math in my head, and it's not happening, so we're roughly 250 graduates each year over the last number of years. We'll multiply that times 30. And in 30 years, we may have to look again. Things will change, but we need to keep moving forward. And for the thousands of students yet to come and those that are still here, I think this is the right thing for us to do. So, I believe we had a motion and a second. And we need to take these as 2 roll call votes, if I'm informed. So, Mr. Clerk, would you read the roll regarding Resolution 1724 for the Faribault Public School Administration to pursue a bond referendum on November 7th of 2017 that would fund up to $87 million in project costs?
Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Yvette?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Andrea?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, it passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. Brings us to item D, a companion resolution, 1725, authorizing the Faribault Public School Administration to pursue an operating referendum on November 7th, 2017, that would increase revenue by up to $950,000. And this is to operate the new facilities that we hope to be creating.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I know the board has talked about this a lot over the last weeks and months. Any comments again this
I think the key is
evening?
up to,
Up?
because I think they're still looking at the transportation.
That's correct.
So it's up to.
Yes, that's the way it's written. I hope that's the way I read it.
Yes, you did.
If there are no further questions, comments, or discussion, Mr. Clerk, would you read the roll?
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Yvette,
Aye.
myself, aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, it passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. I would like to lead a round of applause for all those people who have put so much effort into organizing. So it begins. Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the meeting over?
All right, that brings us to item 11, items of information. We do not have a student representative tonight.
We do have one little thing, yep, one little report, and it's a quick one on
Oh.
item E, yep.
I'm sorry, say again?
Item E, there's
Yes.
just a final budget, yep.
Oh. Why isn't that on here?
It probably added, I think we added it last Saturday to get it in there, and it's just a report, we didn't want to do any action on it,
That was
so.
my Friday agenda.
We're trying to push our budgets too,
I
so.
apologize. It brings us to item E, fiscal year 17 final report.
Hello. Just a quick little update. I'm just presenting this to you for your review. We'll go over this in detail at the June work session, but it's something for you to read in the meantime. Let me know if you have any questions. This is the budget for this current year, so the final budget for this current school year. It's based on, if we go to page 4, it's based on 3,800 students for this school year. So we know that, well, we think that we're gonna come in a little bit better than that. We haven't seen the kids leave like we typically do in the past, so it's gonna change a little bit, but we always know that with enrollment numbers. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna go into it in detail, but I do want to point out on the last page, page 13, that is the fund balance graph. So what I wanted to point out was, if you look at the 2017 column, the current fund balance for this school year will be at 14.1%. The fund balance policy requires a 9.5% fund balance, and our auditors really like to see anywhere from a 13 to 16% fund balance. So that really puts us kind of right in the middle of where the auditors like to see us. So as I said, I'll go over this in detail with you in June along with the adopted budget, but just wanted to get it out in front of you tonight.
How much variance was there between the projected balance when this started and what you're showing us?
I will get that for you at the work session. I don't know exactly off the top of my head.
If I remember right.
It's better. I think it was a
If I remember
$400,000 deficit for the adopted, and this is the $35,000.
And how many years has it been that you haven't performed better to budget than anticipated?
Oh, it's been a long time.
Thank you.
Now, what the state is
For
doing
sure, at
to
least
us,
8. That's when I've been in here.
what the state is talking, this has nothing to do with this budget, right? No.
Right? No.
Okay.
No. So what you'll see in June, we'll hopefully have settled information from the state, so we'll have a little bit more solid information for next year's budget.
So the goal will be at the June board meeting is that we'll adopt our final budget for this current fiscal year. And then the next motion will be, we'll adopt the next budget for the 17-18 school year. Okay, so then we should be all set.
Now, if the state doesn't come through with what we thought, what do we do? Change the figures?
You can, at that time, yeah, and we're hoping that all that legislative stuff will be done by the end of June, yeah,
Because
so.
do we base it on
2%.
2% for revenue,
2%?
yes, that's it, nothing else. We didn't put anything in special education, we did not put anything in TRA.
having been in prison all day and at this meeting all evening,
Is that how you really want it, is that how you want it said?
Having been working at the prison.
Are you on probation? Maybe that's the first question.
As an employee.
Yeah, there we go.
is there an update on the status of the legislature? Have they come to any agreement yet, or they're gonna run it out till midnight, or?
It's gonna be a
we're
long
looking
night.
at a special session? Does anybody have any, just out of curiosity?
No, nothing.
Okay. Well, then, at future meetings, I would ask that, once you get some information, please, as I expected you would, and don't need to be invited, but be looking to hear how that, whatever actions they take are going to impact us.
Absolutely, yep.
Thank you for the update.
All right. Thank you very much. Item 11. Other items of information. Not seeing a student representative unless I miss someone. Miss School Board members, do you have anything that you would like to report this evening? All right. Mr. Superintendent.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you again for your vote tonight. And I think you've taken a step, a huge step, in a great direction for the school district and this community. So thank you for that. There was some cards going around, so hopefully we've got you all signed. If you haven't, I'll forge your names and put them in there. We will check to make sure we have everybody on that list too. There may have been a couple missing, then I'll come and recruit you again to get those signatures on there. So thank you for signing those for the task force. I did have my MASA training, my superintendent training we do 4 each year, and I go down to Rochester and they offer a great training session down there. They do a really, really good job. And I'm also doing some mentoring as well. So that's been very positive for a couple of other superintendents around here. I have visited now with all the schools, and we have talked about the facilities. I've asked a couple of our cabinet members to come along with, just in case the staff have other questions other than the facilities, which we've obviously been hitting pretty hard. So we're getting the word out there, and of course we want to make sure that our internal staff are very much aware of what is going on with this whole process. So those have been very, very good and very productive. The all award ceremony was last Wednesday morning for students, and that was well attended at the Noblin Gym. And then Wednesday night, if you're interested in, our scholarship awards are being given out on Wednesday night of this week. And we traditionally give, $100,000 plus away to students that are going post-secondary education. And some of the students have already received some of the scholarships. So I invite you to attend that. Otherwise, things are going very well, and we're closing up the year. It's been another good year, and we're actually doing a lot of things, Colleen Cardenudo especially, getting ready for the next year in 17-18. So, all right, that's all I have.
Well, since this is our last meeting before the end of the school year, I'd like to just take a very brief opportunity to thank the administration and the staff for their work this year. I think there's been a lot of great things happening, a lot of great planning being done. And so on behalf of myself and the board, we'd like to thank you all for the efforts that you all have made.
Thank you. I did want to say too, we do have a facility committee change. I think I talked to the facility committee members. What we'd like to have, if it works, June 1st. Kevin is not able to make the June or the May 25th meeting. So if June 1st at 4 p.m. for facilities works, we can talk about it afterwards. If it doesn't work, then we can change that date too. We're pretty flexible. All right, so June 1st is tentative. Okay.
All right. Then that brings us to dates to remember. Tomorrow, Tuesday, May 23rd, 4:30 p.m., the Cannon Valley Special Education Co-op meeting here at the district office. Monday, May 29th, a week from this evening, is week from today, is Memorial Day, no school. Mr. Sesker just indicated that the plans are to have a June 1st facilities meeting. Friday, June 2nd, last day of school. Tuesday, June 6th, 4:30 p.m., the policy committee at the district office. Sunday, June 11th, at 2 p.m., graduation in the Nolan Gym. Monday, June 12th, will be the next board work session here at the district office at 5:30 p.m. Monday, June 19th, 7:30 a.m., a finance meeting here at the district office. Monday, June 19th at 3:30 p.m., the Curriculum Advisory Committee. And Monday, June 26th, 5:30 p.m., the next regular board meeting here at the district office. And need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone want to talk about it? I dare you. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.